Welcome to Cayman Turtle Center.
A day of fun and adventure awaits at Cayman Turtle Center Island Wildlife Encounter. Swim and snorkel alongside sea turtles and other marine life. Meet tropical birds in the aviary, ride our turtle twister water slide, or simply relax by the lagoon. Plan your adventure today.
Visit us online at www.turtle.ky.
Looking for something fun and different to do with the family? Join us at the Cayman Turtle Center for Grill and Chill Saturdays. Every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., enjoy a poolside barbecue, buckets of beer and daiquiri specials, and a live DJ. It's Grill and Chill Saturdays at Cayman Turtle Center. Come and celebrate Cayman's culture and our national heroes at Cultural Day at the Cayman Turtle Center. Monday, the 22nd of January, Cayman Turtle Center will be celebrating from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. with incredible deals for you and your family. Come and enjoy food and drink specials all day long. Swim with the turtles and fish in the lagoon. Enjoy the live DJ poolside and have fun with cultural activities throughout the park. Come and celebrate our heroes and immerse yourself in Cayman's culture at Cultural Day at the Cayman Turtle Center, Monday, January 22nd.
Welcome to the Green Scene. My name is Geddes Hislop. I'm the curator for terrestrial and education programs at the Cayman Turtle Conservation and Education Center. This morning I'm joined by my colleagues, Dr. Navi Babalal, who's our park vet, Mr. Adam Jackson, the lead acarist, and our education officers at the Cayman Turtle Center, Shauna McGill and Wendy Dandy. Today we're going to be talking about what do we actually do at the Turtle Center behind the scenes. When people come into the park, they see turtles, they see swimming pools, but it's in our name. It's the Turtle Conservation Education Center. There's a lot of conservation work that goes on behind the scenes, and we just want to make sure people understand that that's our purpose. So we're going to get right into it. I'm going to ask Shauna and Wendy to join me here. And guys, when we do our education programs, we do have a dedicated education programs team. We usually, with our presentations, we give people a little bit of background on the company itself. Maybe Shauna can come in there and tell us what's the kind of things that we mentioned when we do these presentations.
Yeah, so many people might not know that we've been around for a really, really long time. We've been around for about 55 years now. Our company actually started in 1968 as a company called Mariculture Limited, and that was purely for the commercialization and breeding of the green sea turtles. So sea turtles here in the Cayman Islands were considered functionally extinct. And that's just a really funny way of saying there weren't enough in the wild to continue the population. So Mariculture Limited started to breed these sea turtles. And once we reached about 1980, we started the release programs as well. So we started putting the turtles back into the wild. But we went through quite a lot of changes. As you might know, right now we are not called Mariculture Limited. So we started off as that, and then we transitioned to Cayman Turtle Farm once we were purchased by the government. And since then, we've gone through more changes. So we were known as Boatswain's Bay, which some people might know us as. We went back to Cayman Turtle Farm, Island Wildlife Encounter. We then went to Cayman Turtle Center, Island Wildlife Encounter. And now with our multiple facets that we have of this company, we're fully known as Cayman Turtle Conservation and Education Center.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's a lot. But that means growth. It means the company's been evolving over the years, right? But today, there's some accolades that we have that maybe most people might know about. Wendy, maybe you could give us a little background on that.
Yeah, so there's quite a few. When people think of the Cayman Turtle Center, they generally think of a tourist attraction or a leisure attraction, some place to come and swim and just generally look at turtles. And the Cayman Turtle Center has accumulated quite a few accolades over the years. The first being that it is the largest land-based tourist attraction and the largest tourist attraction in general. For quite a few years, we were back and forth with Stingray City. I believe in 2017, we prevailed over them as the number one overall attraction. So we have at least 250,000 visitors each year prior to COVID. So that's quite impressive as well for our tiny little island, as we know. And also for conservation-wise, our accolades are through the roof. We are the longest running conservation program in the Cayman Islands. And to date, we have released over 36,000 turtles back into the wild.
Wow.
Right. So there's a lot of behind the scenes things that happens at the Turtle Center for years, decades now, that the public aren't quite aware of. And as the company has evolved, our conservation and education efforts have evolved quite a bit as well, especially in the past 5 years.
Yeah, especially, just that puts us just around the COVID time. But yeah, so we have some things going on, a lot of things going on people are not aware of, and I guess that's why we have this show, so we know, so people can know that the Turtle Center is more than just swimming in a pool and playing with turtles, which is okay. Right? Because I think we're the only place in the world where you can see sea turtles at every stage of the life cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep. Well, during the breeding season, which is basically summertime, you can see from eggs right up to full-grown adults. But again, lots of conservation going on. And I believe just prior to COVID, we had completed a big study that gave us even more accolades. Shawn, you can give us a little background on that?
Yeah, so since starting our release programs in the 1980s, it was a little bit up in air whether the turtles came back or not. The downside is we're working with the green sea turtle, which is a very, very slow maturing species. It can take them anywhere between 20 to 30 years in the wild to become mature. Now, the benefit of it is that females do a process called natal homing, which I always joke us scientists come up with really funny words to mean simple things. So all natal homing means is that that female will come back to the beach she was born on or released on to lay her eggs. Now, because of this, we had to wait a little while to get those results. But we did a huge collaborative study with universities like University of Barcelona and University of Exeter. We partnered with Department of Environment and a few other places as well. And it was a huge study over a few years where we took the DNA of the wild nesting green turtles here in the Cayman Islands and also took the DNA profiles of our turtles at Cayman Turtle Center. And what we found out was that 90% of the wild nesting turtles in Grand Cayman has DNA related to the turtles at Cayman Turtle Center. And what's even more shocking, I should say, is that later on there was an update that showed almost 80% of the nesting turtles in Little Cayman had DNA related to our turtles as well.
Wow. In Little Cayman?
In Little Cayman.
So that means you're releasing turtles in all 3 islands.
Yeah, so not many people know about that. We've released turtles in both Cayman Brac and Little Cayman as well, in partnership with Cayman Airways.
Oh, shout out to Cayman Airways.
Yeah, the turtles didn't swim there themselves. Cayman Airways very generously helped us get the turtles over there, and we've been releasing there. But it's not just the Cayman Islands. Our turtles have been tracked as far north as the Florida Keys and as far south as Venezuela. They don't have to stay here. So that means we're also affecting the wider Caribbean as a whole.
Oh, yeah. So those releases don't just mean the turtles here are the only ones that are being affected, but yes, wider Caribbean. Venezuela, that's a long way from here.
That's a very, very long way.
Yeah. That's really interesting. And because of what work we're doing, we can say things like that because we're actually tracking these animals. This is great. Well, the thing is, we've come through all these accolades, and it's definitely a team effort because that didn't happen on its own. There are so many departments at the Turtle Center that work together to make the company work, just like any other big company. And I think most people might not know because they don't see everybody. But we have, for example, just to let you know, we have a section called the Animal Programs Department, and we're the ones, I guess we're part of it, they're the ones that actually deal with the animals themselves. Like a couple of our guests today from the Marine Department. As we say, that's anything that swims and has fins. And then we have the Turtle Husbandry, which is, of course, Turtle Center. We must have we have a whole department dedicated just to turtles themselves. The Terrestrial Department, that's my section. Anything with legs and feet. okay, because we do a lot more than just turtles here at the Turtle Center. And most people might not know, we have a dedicated education programs department. And, it's more than, and again, that's more than just dealing with schools, although we do get a lot of schools visiting. But we'll get into that a little later. Other departments include tours, our lifeguards department. We have a food and beverage, because we have our Schooner's restaurant and our Silver Thatch Cafe. Retail department, the Splash Gift Shop, which I understand is very popular. And our customer service department. And of course, the admin. Somebody has to make sure all the finances and things like that can keep running. But everybody there contributes to conservation directly or indirectly. And that's the thing. We want people to understand that. So I guess we can discuss a little bit more about that. And maybe we can start with the education programs departments. Because they're dealing with the animals. It's kind of obvious that, yes, all these releases and everything, we're the team that makes that happen. So what we're going to do is we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we will get into discussing the various departments that actually, at the Cayman Turtle Center, that actually work with animals, our turtle husbandry, our marine departments, our education programs, and our terrestrial. So you're listening to Green Scene on Bobo 89.1 FM, and we'll be right back.
Hi, you're listening to The Green Scene on Bobo 89.1 FM, brought to you by the Cayman Turtle Conservation and Education Center. I'm Jennifer Robinson, and I'm the aquarist. We'll be back in a few moments.
Come and celebrate Cayman's culture and our national heroes at Cultural Day at the Cayman Turtle Center. Monday, the 22nd of January, Cayman Turtle Center will be celebrating from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. with incredible deals for you and your family. Come and enjoy food and drink specials all day long. Swim with the turtles and fish in the lagoon. Enjoy the live DJ poolside and have fun with cultural activities throughout the park. Come and celebrate our heroes and immerse yourself in Cayman's culture at Cultural Day at the Cayman Turtle Center, Monday, January 22nd. Looking for something fun and different to do with the family? Join us at the Cayman Turtle Center for Grill and Chill Saturdays. Every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., enjoy a poolside barbecue, buckets of beer and daiquiri specials, and a live DJ. It's Grill and Chill Saturdays at Cayman Turtle Center.
Welcome back to the Green Scene. My name is Geddes Hislop. We are here discussing what we do at the Cayman Turtle Center behind the scenes. I've been discussing here with our colleagues, education programs officers Shauna McGill and Wendy Dandy. We just established that the Turtle Center has a lot of accolades going on, and besides just being a place to see turtles and swim, there's a lot of conservation work going on behind the scenes. And we're just going to start discussing some of the departments that help make that happen, because it is a team effort. And one thing most people might not know is that we have a dedicated education programs department, and we have education programs officers. That we're talking to right here. So Wendy and Shauna are two education programs officers here at the Cayman Turtle Conservation and Education Center. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves, give people a little background, and your qualifications and what it's like being an education programs officer. So Shauna, why don't you go start?
So I always knew I wanted to work with animals, and I sort of facilitated that through volunteer programs, volunteering with places like the Humane Society, doing internships at the vet, very quickly realizing I didn't want to be a vet, but solidifying the fact I wanted to work with animals. So I made the decision to go to university in the UK. I went to Anglia Ruskin University in Cambridge, and I studied animal behavior and welfare. So a deep dive into the mental capacity of animals and why they do the things they do, which is actually very beneficial. It's very in-depth, but it helps me at least understand animals just a little bit on a daily and see why animals are behaving the way they do.
I help you understand some people too.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, and Wendy.
Okay, well, I started school in the Cayman Islands. I went to St. Ignatius, and after graduating, I worked for quite a while. And then I went to the UK as well, and I studied marine biology and coastal ecology at the University of Plymouth, which is down south in Devon and Cornwall. which the English listeners, I might be a bit biased. I really do love the countryside. And then I went on to do my master's at Bristol in environmental consultancy, where I was more on the green development side of things. So a more well-rounded view so I started off with animal sciences and ended with environmental policy in green buildings.
So both backgrounds, science and animals to a point, but education programs. Most zoos and aquariums around the world have had education departments. But so how would you just transition from? I mean, that's a transition. Just having a degree doesn't make you an educator. Right? What else did you have to do?
So I initially started working at Cayman Turtle Center as an aquarist. So I was with the marine department. And that sort of facilitated my learning working directly with animals. But it's not just going out and getting a degree. You genuinely need to facilitate learning all throughout animals. Animals are constantly changing. We're constantly learning new things about taking care of them, how they behave. There's a reason why we're science and scientists, because it's always changing. People are always investigating. So even though we're working in the departments, we're constantly facilitating our own education as well. So we have multiple programs that go on. We have the aquarium vet course, which teaches us more about fish and marine animals and their physiology and how they behave and how to take care of them. Then we also have the San Diego Zoo Global Academy, which focuses more on the care of zoo animals, but also goes into depth about educational programs, natural disasters, and how to recover over that. So it is quite a deep depth course.
Yeah. So that helps you. So you guys think that helped you focus what you already know? Is doing those courses?
Basically, just fine-tune on how we bring across and present information in a way that helps people retain.
Yeah. Well, that's why I prefer to call it interpretation. Because we do have a lot of scientists working at the center, and sometimes, as I think Shauna might have mentioned earlier, science has a funny ways of saying simple things. Right, it makes it sound really complex.
So, long-winded ways of saying simple things.
So it's kind of like interpreting another language and breaking it down to different levels. So for the education programs, when you think education, most people think about schools, right? I know we do have a lot of schools visiting the center. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we definitely have a lot of schools visit our center from various schools across the island, different age groups as well. So our educational programs and educational talks don't just focus on school-age children. I'm putting that in bunny ears. So we don't just do primary school and high school. We also do university level too. In fact, we don't just focus on schools here in the Cayman Islands. We also have many schools from other countries, like places like Canada and the US, that either come here on vacation and visit our center, or we either do virtual tours with them as well. Say what you want about COVID, but the one benefit of it is that it made us work and find different ways to reach a different audience because they couldn't come in. So that helped us enhance our educational programs, and we were able to do more virtual outreach to not only places here in Cayman, but across the world too.
Oh yes, that's say something for virtual technology. And besides, and you say, we don't just do schools. We do corporate outreach, right, Wendy?
Yeah, so we have a dedicated corporate outreach program as well, where we come and do lunch and learns. We have something called ACT Talks, which stands for Animal Conservation Talks. And right now we have two that we present. The first one is called How Many Came Home, and the second one is entitled Iron Men and Wooden Ships. So basically it's two educational talks that our team has put together to present to the public. We try to extend our educational reaches outside of the park. There's a lot of people who don't know what's happening behind the scenes, and a lot of people who don't know the history of our islands as well in terms of the green sea turtle. So we try to get out there, and we've done quite a few law firms, a lot of other admin companies as well. And we come in for about an hour, do a lunch and learn. We've had a really great feedback and attendance so far since we've been doing these talks. So for those of you who are interested, you can get in touch with us at info@turtle.ky.
And for schools visiting, how do they get in touch with us?
Yeah, so if someone is listening who wants to get their classroom in touch with us, all you have to do is email schooltours@turtle.ky.
Okay. All right. So apart from the people that visit, well, we have our schools, we have our corporate people who reach out to them. And yeah, because while we're educating the next generation, we still have people that are here making decisions. And I guess our education outreach is to make sure that they're making informed decisions. At least they have that background, that environmental focus in mind. But the park itself it's like I said, is in the name, Turtle Conservation Education Center. What else does education programs do on site, for example?
I think it's really important to note that it's not just schools coming in that are getting education from us. Anyone that walks through our doors is technically getting an education on our company, but also the green sea turtle, as well as all other animals we have at our park.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, we do that by doing daily talks, Shark Talk, for example. We also have weekly talks like Croc Talk as well. When it's breeder season, we have our hatchery talks. We've trained and gone through scripts with our tour guides, both internal and external. We have extensive signage that has been pre-written and approved by our educational officers. So there's quite a lot of thought and more detail that goes into our educational outreach than people realize. Every day we're interacting and getting some kind of educational facts out there.
Yeah, and I should point out that also our purposes, everybody's an educator. As Mandy mentioned, we train and update our tour guides, and both our on-site tour guides as well as the ones that are independent operators that bring people to the park. But our own staff, our animal programs people, the aquarists, the keepers, even the lifeguards, and so on to an extent, everybody gets the information from us. So yes, education is very important. It's make sure we're keeping everything up to date. And I think we also work with our marketing department as well, right?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Very closely with our marketing department.
Yeah, because all that information going out on our websites and our social media platforms, they all have to be kept up to date. But one of the things that people see you guys out in the public, well, I would say besides school visits, is turtle releases. Tell us something about that, because you have different types of turtle releases, right?
Yeah, so honestly, being an educator has so many branches, including turtle releases, which in itself is a whole event. So us as educators, we also act as the turtle release coordinators. So we're there helping plan how our turtle releases are going to go out, but also, more importantly, giving the educational talks at each and every single one of these releases. So whether it's our nest translocation, where we take our own captive bred eggs and implant them on local beaches, whether it's our hatchling releases, when we take them out at night and release them from the beach, or when we take them out in a boat to sargassum rafts and release them, or finally, whether it's our head started turtle releases. It's sort of our job there to ensure that all the information going out to the public about our programs is accurate, but also answering any questions they may have.
Okay. That's a lot.
It is.
Yeah, it is. But like I said, it's in the name, so it's a very important component of what we do at the Cayman Turtle Conservation Education Center. And most people, and of course, education is probably one of the most important tools that we have for conservation, because we want people to go away informed, making the right, so they can make decisions in their environmental decisions, their own decisions, keeping things in mind that do with our environments and our animals.
Yeah, there's a quote, and I'm going to paraphrase this because I'm not going to remember it off the top of my head, but it goes something like, you protect what you understand what you're taught. And so it's sort of our job to get the information out about the species to also help improve the conservation of the species we work with as well.
Mm-hmm, definitely. And really important to have that information accurate. So being an education officer doesn't mean you're just spouting out things. It means you have to do your own research and keep yourself up to date, right?
Yeah, and facts and figures can constantly change, so you have to constantly update that information as well.
Lots of research.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, guys, that sounds like a lot, but I'm just gonna wrap up this section here. But before we go, I just wanted to ask both a personal question. What is it like? What's the thing you like best about doing education programs?
For me personally, it's the look of interest on people's face. We get some really good visitors every day. Shark Talk, usually we will alternate. One officer does Shark Talk one week, the other does it the next week. So when it's my week, I really look forward to it because we get some really good visitors each day, and the enthusiasm on their faces and how their faces light up with questions, it just makes it all worth it. It makes my day before 12 p.m.
Yeah, and I'll say the difficult part for me about that question is when you say the word best, because as for putting something at the top, I don't know. As I mentioned earlier, my degree and my background are in the animal care field, so I obviously really like when I get to work closely with the animals, and educators do, at certain points, get to work very closely with them. So whether I'm in our aviary talking with one of our parrots like Coco, or whether we're at the turtle releases, that's fun. But also part of the reason I jokingly fell backwards into the education career is that I really genuinely like seeing how kids especially react with learning the information, but also just how passionate the younger generations, especially now, are about the environment and the animals. And they're very inquisitive and really love learning things. So that's one of my favorite parts, just seeing the genuine joy on their faces when they learn about these animals and also see them.
I will admit, I think Shauna definitely has more of affinity for children than I do, whereas I love adults and adult conversation. So it's a pretty good team. It works out quite perfectly.
Okay, yeah, balance all around. But the key thing is you have to enjoy what you do because it's important,
sure.
Because you're not teachers as such. No. But important information presented with passion is something that's always is better retained rather than just give a dry lecture.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
You know? As anybody who's been to university knows, you have some brilliant. you might have some brilliant professors, but they're not that good at teaching. Just because they're smart doesn't mean they can impart.
Yeah.
Okay, well, guys, thanks so much for sharing that information with us. We've been talking with our education programs officers, Wendy Dandy and Shauna McGill, here on the Green Scene. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about how the different departments of the Cayman Turtle Conservation Education Center work together as a team to contribute to the whole program, the whole conservation mandates of the company. So listen to the Green Scene here on Bobo 89.1 FM. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, and you're listening to The Green Scene. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Looking for something fun and different to do with the family? Join us at the Cayman Turtle Center for Grill and Chill Saturdays. Every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., enjoy a poolside barbecue, buckets of beer and daiquiri specials, and a live DJ. It's Grill and Chill Saturdays at Cayman Turtle Center. Come and celebrate Cayman's culture and our national heroes at Cultural Day at the Cayman Turtle Center. Monday, the 22nd of January, Cayman Turtle Center will be celebrating from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. with incredible deals for you and your family. Come and enjoy food and drink specials all day long. Swim with the turtles and fish in the lagoon. Enjoy the live DJ poolside and have fun with cultural activities throughout the park. Come and celebrate our heroes and immerse yourself in Cayman's culture at Cultural Day at the Cayman Turtle Center, Monday, January 22nd.
Okay, everyone, welcome back to the Green Scene on Bobo 89.1 FM. If you have been joining us from the beginning of this conversation, you might have noticed that the host voice sounds slightly different. My name is Shona McGill, and I'm one of the Education Programs Officers, and we've sort of switched host seats midway through, because next up, we're going to talk about our terrestrial section. So with me today, I have Mr. Geddes Hislop, who is the curator of terrestrial exhibits and educational programs at Cayman Turtle Conservation and Education Center. So I'm going to first start off by asking you, what's your background and how did you become the curator of Cayman Turtle Center?
Oh, well, terrestrial department at Turtle Center, although sometimes it feels like that. Yeah, well, my background is I'm originally from Trinidad. I did education. I finished my high schooling in Toronto, Canada, and I went on to get the degree in wildlife biology with a minor in environmental education at the University of Guelph, which is well known to a lot of Canadians. And from there, I went back to Trinidad and I worked in wildlife conservation and research with the Trinidad Wildlife Department, and then eventually moved to the Cayman Islands. Worked with the National Trust for a while as an education programs officer, and that was the time that we opened in the early days of the Botanic Park and the Mastic Trail. And then I was recruited by the Turtle Center back in 2006, 2005, when they were just opening up the new Boston's Beach, they called it at the time. And yeah, the education programs and the terrestrial department grew from there.
So I'm sure most people know about Cayman Turtle Center. We definitely have turtles, but it's a lot more animals than that, which is also where you come in. So you jokingly say you work with anything with legs at the center.
Anything with feet. Yeah, because we have from butterflies to a crocodile. And but the main focus most people know at Cayman Turtle Center is the aviary, the Caribbean aviary. That's the main focus. And at the Turtle Center, there's conservation going on all the time. And we actually do conservation. We actually have dedicated conservation programs for 3 species at the Turtle Center. The green sea turtle, of course, as Dr. Navi had discussed earlier. And we also work with another iconic species, another national animal, which is the Cayman Islands parrots. Parrots, and I do say parrots, plural, because there's two national birds, which are the 2 Cayman Islands parrots, the Grand Cayman parrot and the Cayman black parrot. So the Caribbean aviary at the Turtle Center is the only place in the world where you can see both subspecies side by side. So one of the things that we do is we teach people how to tell the difference. First, we tell them there's 2 parrots. So usually the thing we like to do is say, yeah, well, we have all this bird and that bird, and we have the 2 national birds, and then pause. And everybody say, wait, what? We have 2? So we have 2 national birds. Cayman Islands, 2 national, the Grand Cayman parrot and the Cayman black parrot. And they're both, because the official national bird on the government website is the Cayman Islands parrot. And there are 2 Cayman Islands parrots, so they're both equally national bird. Yeah. And then apart from that, we also work with the white-crowned pigeon, which most locals might know as a bald-pates. We started that after Hurricane Ivan, because their numbers plummeted after the hurricane, of course, and they were in big trouble. So we got a lot of rescue birds at the aviary. We do some rehab, I should mention. We try not to take wild animals in because of the general park policy for biosecurity, where we don't want to bring disease into the park. But in some cases, we do have some animals that have been cleared by the vets that we rehab. And when we were rescuing injured white-crowned pigeons after the hurricane, they stayed in the aviary, and as they got better, they started breeding. And we figured, well, this is a good way to help the population make a comeback. It seems over the years that the population of white-crowned pigeons has made a good comeback. But yeah, besides the aviary, there's also a butterfly house, And it's not a butterfly farm. We're not breeding butterflies. It's basically an enclosed butterfly garden. So people get in there and they can see local butterflies. And one of the things that's interesting is that people walk in there and they say, I don't see any butterflies. Because they're not moving all the time.
Yeah.
And once they stop moving, they just disappear. It's the same thing as saying the aviary sometimes. If you walk through the aviary, I don't see any birds.
They're in the trees.
They're in the trees. First you got to look up. And then you got to slow down.
Yeah.
So it's, I tell people it's like when you look at these wildlife shows, you get a 30-second clip that probably took them about 3 months to get.
Yeah, they're not active 24/7.
Yeah. And then of course on the islands in the big lagoon, the snorkeling lagoon, we have our peafowl on the islands. They're there mainly for entertainment and attraction. There's a nature trail in the back there because besides terrestrial also involves plants. So we do have a small nature trail in the back there where people can enjoy quite a nice short walk through the woods. But it ends up at the Blue Hole Cave, which most people don't know about, but there's an actual cave on site. Not that you can walk into like in the BRAC, but you can look at it from a distance. And in that cave, there's a certain type of blind cave shrimp. It's not microscopic. You can see them with the naked eye, but there's a little white cave shrimp that's unique only to that cave. You can't find anywhere else. And we do have researchers that come from the U.S. every year to study these things. And then, of course, we have our crocodile.
Yeah.
Yeah, Smiley the crocodile. Most school kids know about Smiley.
Mm-hmm.
And we feed her once a week. So yeah. Right now. In the wintertime, we feed her once a week. Usually on a Wednesday. In the summertime, we'll feed her twice a week. Odd times, we might feed her 3 times a week. That's pretty much the education programs. Terrestrial programs.
So if anybody has been listening very, very closely to Geddes, not only has he mentioned multiple species, but he's also mentioned multiple habitats at the center too that fall within his realm. And it's a very common misconception that when you work with animals, you just spend most of your time cuddling them. We do not just cuddle animals 24/7.
Definitely not the crocodile.
There is a lot that goes, definitely not the crocodile, yeah. There is a lot that goes on behind the scenes. So how would you typically describe a regular working day for you and your department?
Okay, well, myself and the other keepers, I would say we spend about maybe half of our day is feeding, cleaning, and observation. Those 3 things. These animals are they're not pets. Make that quite clear, because most people, when they come into the aviary, especially when they see the parrots, first thing they want to do is, does it talk? Can I pet it? No, they're not pets. We don't treat them as pets. We actually want them semi-wild because of the breeding and release program. We want them to be able to quickly adapt to living in the wild. So we don't treat them as pets. So I tell people that they're tolerant. They're not tame. They'll let you get close. They don't want you to touch them. So because we have these wild animals in a controlled environment, they cannot move around as they would in the wild, and they cannot access certain things. So we have to make sure that they have all their basic needs provided. So feeding and cleaning is an important part of it, because animals don't like dirty stuff any more than we do. And if there's something dirty, usually they just move. Mm-hmm. But since they can move, we got to make sure that their environment is clean, and that's good for health too, health and welfare. Feeding them, it's more than just putting food in a bowl. We actually give them portions. We try to give our animals as much of the natural food as we can, because we believe there is a commercial special diet, zoo diet that we get that provides 100% nutrition, but we believe that there are certain nutritional qualities in the food that they eat in the wild that is not accounted for. Just like when your mom tells you eat your vegetables, she's not saying that because there are certain nutrients in vegetables and different things that are good for you, that you may or may not get just eating a pizza. Okay, so we try to give the animals as much natural food as we can. So part of this is they will normally go foraging for food. We forage for their food. So you see our guys walking around picking up almonds, picking fruits from different places, even flowers. The cleaning is an important aspect, as I said, because we want to avoid well, not just mess, but also possibly the animal in attracting unwanted visitors like bugs, just because there's a lot of food that attracts ants or something like that. And then observation. Again, these are wild animals. Animals in the wild, they tend to hide any kind of illness or injury because otherwise they're targeted by a predator as an easy prey. So these animals will, if they're injured or sick, they will hide it as best as they can. So by the time they actually show any kind of illness, it's usually at a really advanced stage. So again, the keepers are trained and experienced in looking at animals and learning what is normal behavior, just like our vets mentioned. And anything that's abnormal, we flag it right away. Mm-hmm. And we look at it a little closer, or if anything, we contact the vet, Dr. Navi, to get a better assessment. So all this is part of the welfare.
Yeah,
that's the top thing. What most visitors see is the benefit of that. They see animals that are happy, healthy, mm-hmm. moving around, bright and active, or as we like to say, bright, alert, reactive. Okay. There's a lot of work that goes into it.
Yeah, you said you guys have to be really good at noticing the behavior of animals because they don't display outward symptoms. But it's not just that. You also have to study individuals too, because just like us humans have our own specific unique traits, so do all individual animals as well.
Oh yeah, because after we don't name all the animals, but some of them we know individually, as you said. And yeah, those animals are iconic to us. We know, for example, all the parrots are named. Smiley, crocodile, of course, has a name. Not the name I would have chosen, but Smiley sounds friendly. But she's not that friendly. So even some of the pigeons and other birds have names. So yeah, and that's another thing. When you're working with animals close like that in captive situations, gives you an insight into what they're like in the wild. Because, for example, with the Department of Environment doing their field research, it helps if they see certain behaviors and they can discuss it with us, and we can tell them, well, yeah, this is something we've seen our animals doing as well. So they have a better idea of how they can manage certain things if they see, for example, feeding on certain things, mm-hmm. certain times of year. Yeah.
So we're working with wild animals in a captive environment. And for us in that scenario, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, but especially something called enrichment, which is actually very beneficial to the animals in our care. So can you just please explain enrichment and why we also do enrichment for our animals?
Yeah, enrichment is basically a way to help the animal express natural behavior. Very simply put, it's a way of entertaining the animals. If you're sitting down in a room, for example, and all you have is your four walls, you get bored pretty quick. They give you a book, now you have something to do. They give you a video game, you have even more to do. So in the case of the animals, we try to provide them with enrichment. Enrichment can be something as simple as giving it something nice to eat. It could be as complex as changing the environment, like hanging up branches and so on, like we do for some of our parrots, changing around perches and moving them to a different location. In the aviary, some of our animals interact with the guests with hand feeding. Smiley the crocodile, her enrichment every day, well, sometimes we spray her down with a hose, but her main enrichment is feeding. That's the time when she gets to move and pursue the prey, which is food on the end of a stick, basically. And so, yeah, enrichment is very important for the animals' mental health. Okay, because if you're bored and you're depressed, you're much more vulnerable to getting sick or feeling sick. And so enrichment is a very important part of what we do. Feeding, cleaning, yes, but making sure the animals are happy and healthy, there's another aspect to it as well, which is enrichment.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Geddes. I do think we have to wrap up. We've talked about a lot of things today, and hopefully we've managed to give you listeners an in-depth look at the animal programs that we have at Cayman Turtle Center. So throughout the week, if you want to see or meet anyone you may have heard talking today and perhaps ask them more, we have various things going on around the park. Obviously, we have our animal feedings and animal talks throughout the week. So we have Shark Talk Monday to Friday down by the Predator Reef Viewing Glass that gives people a little more education and awareness on sharks and maybe how they're not the ravenous man-eating machines that media likes to play them as. And that's at 10:30 down by the Viewing Glass Monday to Friday. That's immediately followed by Shark Feeding, which you can see our two nurse sharks, Freddie and Buka, get fed by our Marine Department at the center. We do have our Smiley Feeding throughout the week. Right now, that is once a week on Wednesdays at 11:45. And then we do also have our Caribbean Aviary, which you can visit anywhere between 10 to 3 p.m. and hand feed some of the birds in there. Now, as for other things, other unique things that might be coming up at our center, we do have a cultural day coming up, and that'll be on Monday, January 22nd from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And this will be a really cool event which showcases the talents of local artisans, crafters, and also cultural ambassadors. There'll be a live DJ beside our pool. There'll also be food and drink specials and various cultural activities for the whole family throughout the day. We will also have our Grill and Chill Saturdays. That will be happening every Saturday now from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And at this event, you can dive into a poolside barbecue with a live DJ, soak up the sun, get your tan back a little bit after the Christmas time period, treat yourself to a daiquiri and beer bucket specials, or simply just pay general admission to enjoy our pool and enjoy the tunes down by the pool. So thank you so much for joining us, guys. This has been The Green Scene on Bobo 89.1 FM. We'll be here every Saturday, so we enjoy having you listening to us again.
Looking for something fun and different to do with the family? Join us at the Cayman Turtle Center for Grill and Chill Saturdays. Every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., enjoy a poolside barbecue, buckets of beer and daiquiri specials, and a live DJ. It's Grill and Chill Saturdays at Cayman Turtle Center. Come and celebrate Cayman's culture and our national heroes at Cultural Day at the Cayman Turtle Center. Monday, the 22nd of January, Cayman Turtle Center will be celebrating from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. with incredible deals for you and your family. Come and enjoy food and drink specials all day long. Swim with the turtles and fish in the lagoon. Enjoy the live DJ poolside and have fun with cultural activities throughout the park. Come and celebrate our heroes and immerse yourself in Cayman's culture at Cultural Day at the Cayman Turtle Center, Monday, January 22nd.